Hey guys, so welcome to part 2 on our tutorial on how to lodge your application for study permit in Canada through the GCK account. So on the previous video, we went through the questionnaires and answered them one by one until we reached the document checklist, right? So for this video, we will go through each document and we will try to answer the forms so you would have an idea on what to write on your form. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright guys, so this is a document checklist again from your GCK account, and you will see all the documents that you need to submit. Okay, that's not a lot actually. But if you look at it, it looks overwhelming. But anyways, okay, so let's begin for the application for study permit made outside of Canada, or in short, this is called the IMM 1294. You have to take note that this is the same form that your child, the SP minor, will also answer. Okay, so it's exactly the same. Okay, that link is clickable, and as you can see, it will lead you to this error message. So what you can do is you can right click, copy the link address, and okay, let me just close this one up. And go to your Adobe file, open, and then paste the link here and wait for it to open. Alright, so this is how it looks like. Let me just lower this down so you can see. Okay, so the first question in all of the forms usually would be your UCI. So if this is your first application, just leave it blank because you will only be given a UCI once you have submitted an application. But if this is, for example, your first application was refused and you want to reapply, then you would have your UCI already. And your UCI, you can find it in your GCK account. So, or you can also find it in all the documents that IRCC will be giving you. So your UCI is just like your SSS number in the Philippines. So you will be assigned a number, okay? So again, for first application, leave it blank. But if you already have a UCI from your previous application, then write it down. Number 2, I want service in. This is just a language, English. Full name, given name. Okay, so number 2 is, have you ever... Okay, wait, let me just go back here. People have been asking, should I write my middle name? In all of my application, I never wrote my middle name. So I just wrote Melanie. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so have you ever used any other name? Or for example, a nickname, a maiden name, alias, etc. So if you are a girl or a female, you would probably, and a married one, then you would have to say yes and then put your maiden name here. Yeah, the name you before you got married. So if not, if you're still single, then just say no and it will gray out automatically. And then your sex and date of birth, place of birth, and your country of or territory, your citizenship. Okay, for number 7, current country or territory of residence. Let's just say you live in the Philippines, say, so write or choose Philippines and then citizen. Okay, so this will gray out because there's no start and end date of your citizenship. Okay, previous countries or territories of residence. During the past 5 years, okay, everything is written in the form, right? You just have to read it and understand what the question is. During the past 5 years, have you lived in any country or territory other than your country of citizenship or your current country of residence for more than 6 months? So your answer here on, for example, here it's Philippines, and then you are working abroad. So you would have to say yes. Or for example, you were a previous OFW like last year and then you went back home to the Philippines. So let's just say you worked in Singapore. Let's just use me for an example. So right there, Singapore, and then worker, and then write dates from and to. And then for number 9, Same, if your country or territory where you're applying, is it the same as your country of residence? So yes. So this will black out or gray out. Okay. What is your marital status? Married. If you're married or in a common law partnership or common law relationship, provide the date on which you were married or where you entered into the common law relationship. So let's just say we just got married last October 1. Okay. So provide the name of your spouse. So just write a family name and give a name of your spouse. Okay, next is your personal details. Have you previously been married or in a common law relationship? So, no. In my case, no. Okay, so it will gray out. But if you have been previously married, and then you have to say yes. Okay, this question is not for it's not for your current husband, right? This is for this is a question pertaining to a previous relationship other than your husband. So yeah, so if you have not been previously married aside from the one that you are married with right now, or the one with you are in a relationship right now, then you have to say no. Okay, so your native tongue, Tagalog. Are you able to communicate in English or French? So English only. Okay, your passport number, country or territory of issue, Philippines, issue date, and expiry date of your passport. Okay, for 5 and 6, you don't really have to answer this. This one, do you have a national identity document? So for us in the Philippines, I believe they already started rolling out the national ID, but the dilemma there for people is, for example, he answered yes, is asking for the document number. I'm not sure if there's a number on that ID and the country, but the problem is the expiry date. From what I heard, the national ID in Philippines doesn't have an expiry date, so they don't know what to do. That's why most of the people will just answer no. Like for me, I also don't have a national ID, so I just answered no. It's not really a big deal. Okay, if you have a USPR card, then right here. If you don't have, then leave it blank. Okay, for mailing address, yeah, just put your addresses. Mailing address and residential address. Okay, next would be contact details, phone number, alternate phone number. Those without the asterisk are not required. So if you don't want to put, then don't put. But it's good to have a phone number at least, so the immigration can contact you. Just like in my case when the immigration called me in immigration in Singapore. Okay, so details of intended study in Canada. So for the student, the main applicant, for example, like for me, what's the name of my school? Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. So you just have to write there. My level of study would be a diploma, because the program that I took is a two-year program, and it's the level of that is diploma. My field of study would be business. So you just choose whatever is appropriate for you or for your program. And then province of your school. So city and town. Mine is Calgary. And then the address of the school, it's on the LOA or letter of acceptance. So just whatever is the address there, just copy it here. The designated learning institution number, because every school have their own DLI number. Your student ID number, usually it's on your LOA, but it is not a required field. So if you don't want to put or you don't know where to find, it's fine. Duration of your expected study would be the duration of your program. For me, my classes starts on May 8th and ends on December 2024. So just for example, January 4, like that. Okay, the cost of my studies will be, so the tuition fee, from what I researched and from the Facebook group, they said to just put your 1 year tuition fee. You don't have to put the 2 years tuition fee. So like for in my case, my 1-year tuition fee is 18,800. And then room and board and others, you can just leave it blank. And then funds available for my stay. This will be the total liquid, only the liquid cash that you have for your application. So if you have like, and it has to be converted into Canadian dollars. So okay, so for the proof of funds, I will have to make a separate video on that because it's also a very complicated topic. But yeah, the funds available from my stay would be whatever cash money that you have. If you are sponsored, so you also combine what you have plus the sponsors money, like how much they pledge to help you with. So for example, let's say 100,000 Canadian dollars. Okay, my expenses will be paid by, oh wait, it doesn't accept the comma, don't put comma. It will automatically put the comma and the dollar sign for you. Okay, so for my expenses will be covered by either myself, parents, or others. So if you are self-funded, meaning all the funds will be coming from your pocket, then put myself. But if you have a sponsor, you can put others. So others, you can say myself and parents, right? Or myself and mother-in-law, myself and uncle. So yeah, you can be specific there. Okay, for education. Okay, so for education, the question is, have you had any post-secondary education, including university, college, apprenticeship training? So in my case, for example, yes, I have. And then just write your the dates of your schooling, like if you went to college already back in the Philippines, field of study, your school name, town, city and town, and the country. Okay, for employment, give details of your employment for the past 10 years, including if you have held any government positions such as civil servant, judge, police officer, mayor, members of the parliament, and all that. So like in my case, my current activity, because number one will be the most recent. In my case, my current activity was a homemaker because I was not working, or I am not working. So my dates would be from like 2013 December is when I stopped working, up to like, if for example I am going to lodge my application like this today or tomorrow, so just write the present date. So 2022 month 11. Okay, so city and town in the Philippines. This one, if you're a homemaker or you're not working, then this is not applicable. Country, Philippines, and all. And then the previous activity, then you would have to write, my previous jobs. And then because there's only 3 slots for employment here. For example, in the past 10 years, you have been, changing jobs. You have, like, for example, you have 5 jobs for the past 10 years. So you just have to make a table like this. I'm not sure if you can copy paste. Just, make a table like this in a Word document. And then you would have to put that in your client info file, which later on I will discuss. So yeah, here on the form you can only put 3, the most recent 3 jobs. Okay, so for background information, you must complete this if you're 18 years or older. So for the kids, I didn't do this part for them. Okay, so for the past 2 years, have you or a family member had TB of the lungs, been in close contact with a person with tuberculosis? No. Do you have any physical or mental disorder? No. So if you answered yes, then you have to provide details here in the box. Okay, number 2, have you ever remained beyond the validity of your status, attended school without authorization, or worked without authorization in Canada? So course, no for me. Have you ever been refused a visa or permit, denied entry, or ordered to leave Canada or any other country or territory? So in my case, for example, we were refused, remember? So if you have been refused, for example, you applied for the first time and then you got denied or you got refused, on your reapplication, you have to declare that you have been refused already. So you have to tick yes here. This also applies if you have been refused of any tourist visa, like in Korea, in US, in Japan. Any tourist visa refusal, you also have to tick yes, because this is also, it also says here any other country, not only in Canada. Okay. Have you previously applied to enter or remain in Canada? So this also has a connection with your previous study permit. For example, for someone who have been refused already, so you have to tick yes. But if this is your first application, you have no record of any refusal of tourist visa, then just tick all no. But in my case, for example, that I have been refused on my first application, I have to tick yes here and yes here. And what do we write here on the details? You just have to write your application number. You can just say study permit application number, and then that study permit application usually starts with S, and then it followed by I don't know how many numbers. For example, like that. Study permit application number S blah blah blah, refused last, you can write the date, like for us June 29, 2022. That was our last refusal. If you have multiple, like in our case we were refused twice, you write it down as well. Okay, all of your refusal. So same format. Of course, there's gonna be a different what do you call that, different application number for that. And then I will say here it was refused January 27. Okay, so all of the details of all your previous application refusal. Okay, next, have you ever committed, been arrested or charged with or convicted of any criminal offense? So no. But like I said earlier, if your NBI remarks had something to do with no, I'm not really sure what remarks would that be. But if your remarks is not no derogatory record, then I think you have to explain. Okay, again, I would like to reiterate this part, the number 2 question. If you have been refused, if you fail to declare your previous refusal, for some people this is automatically refused again. Okay, I have seen people who forgot, they just tick, because on their first application they're used to answering this form already, so they just tick no, and then when they reapplied, they also tick no, but in reality they have been refused. So that second application was refused again because of the failure to declare their previous refusal. Okay. Did you serve in the military, the civil defense? So no. Wait, forgot here. So yeah, no. And then are you or have you been a member or associated with any political party? No. Have you ever witnessed or participated in the ill treatment of prisoners or civilians? No. Okay, and then on the last page would be your signature, but you don't really have to sign. But wait, let us read the question. Do you consent to be contacted by CIC? Yes. And then here you have, it says signature of applicant and then the date. You can just write the date, for example today, but you don't really have to sign if there is a validate button. This validate button, you can, I cannot validate because I didn't answer all the questions. I forgot. Let's see. The validate button is like a foolproof way that you did not miss out any required field. So if you press validate and you missed a question, it will turn red like this. Okay, but once you answered everything and you click validate, another page will come up and it will have a barcode. So that will be, when you upload it, that will be like red in the system. So you don't really have to sign this anymore. Just click validate. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the same form for your child. Study permit made outside of Canada. So you just have to answer it and fill in the details of your child. But when it comes to this part, the part of the details intended study in Canada, of course your child doesn't have a school yet, because you will only know once you're there, once you have your address. Based on your address, that's when you will know which school your child will be assigned to. So for this case, if you are answering this for your child, you can just write to be determined. Okay. The level will be primary. Remember, the child that I put here is 7 years old. The province and the address to be determined as well. Okay, for the tuition for the child, it's 0 because their education is free. 0. Okay. Others, you can put 3,000 because for each child, you are required to have 3,000 for them. And then funds available for my stay would be the same as the primary applicant. And then the expenses in Canada will be paid by parents. Okay. And then for the child, of course, they have not, for like a 7-year-old child, they have not had a post-secondary education. So just take no, and this will gray out. Employment, they don't have yet. So just write, what you call that? No employment. And for the date, what we usually write is 1900-01. Because remember, these fields have asterisks, so it's a required field. So we don't have a choice but to write something in it. So 1900-01, and then for the current activity or occupation, just say no employment. And then the same thing here, no employment. And then for the city, just write your own city, like Manila, and then Philippines. So yeah, and then the rest would be the same. So for a child, for the child, I didn't answer this for my son, because you only need to answer this if you are 18 years of age or older. So I left this blank for my kids. Even though they already have been refused, I still did not answer this part. Their previous application was just depending on my application, so it's really not a big deal. Okay, but for the main applicant, you have to answer this, because first of all, you are 18 years and above. All right, so for the student permit applicant and the student permit minor applicant will have the same form, just different answers. Okay. Next. Okay, so my session expired, so I had to log in again. And as you can see, you will find your application, the one that we did, the questionnaires that we answered here. So under the application, you haven't submitted. So the IRCC, or the Immigration of Canada, doesn't have an access to this. They won't see what you have uploaded and all that, not until you submit it. So you have 60 days to submit it. If not, then it will be erased. So you have to do it all over again from the beginning. Okay, so you can continue application. Okay, so like I mentioned, you will be redirected. Once you continue application, this will be the first screen, the questionnaire. So you can keep editing that, or you can keep, so you can edit your answers anytime if you made a mistake. Alright, so we have covered this part. Okay, next will be, here, evidence of work requirement study. The evidence of work requirement in study. Okay, it's required. Like I mentioned, if your program has a co-op or internship, then it will be stated in your letter of acceptance. Usually in the letter of acceptance, there will be a questionnaire like, is work required in the program, yes or no? Then if the answer there is yes, then obviously you have a co-op, and then you just have to upload that part of the LOA on this tab. Okay, passport. Okay, you have this question marks here that you can click on to, give more details about what they need. Okay, for passport, you have to scan all of the passports that you have had ever since you began having passports. Like in my case, I think I have 4 or 5 passports now, so I had to scan the bio page and all the pages with the stamps. Okay, so put it in one PDF file. Okay, letter of acceptance or the LOA required, of course. Use a family member representative for online application. So this form is about you being the representative of your whole family. So the main applicant or the student is the representative of the spouse and the child. So how do you fill out this form? It's very easy. Okay, number 1, full name, given name, and date of birth. This will be the main applicant's one. Okay, and then number 3, information on the family members. Write the name, date of birth, and define the relationship. So write the name of your spouse. Relationship here would be spouse and their birthday, and then write the names of your children. So in this case, in this example, I have one son, right? So write the name of the child, then write son and write the birthday. Okay, for section B, granting permission to the family member representative. So each family member who is 18 years and above must sign and the date and put the date. So in this scenario, I only have my spouse and my child, my son at 7 years old. So who will sign here? Okay, of course, only my spouse. The child doesn't need to sign. So your husband or your spouse will sign here and then put the date here. And then on section C, declaration of family member. I declare that the information I have given is truthful, complete, and correct. So who will sign this? The main applicant, the name who's written on the number 1. Okay, so this one, since it needs to be signed, you can fill out the form online, print it, sign it, and then scan it, and then that's the one you upload. So again, those forms that have the validate button, you don't have to sign, you don't have to print, just click the validate button. But for this, you need to print it, sign it, and scan it. Okay, easy peasy. Next one will be marriage license or certificate. That's easy. Proof of means of financial support. So this is the tab where you put everything that is connected to your proof of funds. Okay, all bank statement, bank certificate, pay slips, ITRs, and especially if you have sponsors, so you also put their bank documents, all their financial documents that shows that they are capable of supporting. So we will have a separate discussion on the proof of funds, like I mentioned. Okay, digital photo, you have to upload a Canada visa size. So you can just DIY, or you can go to what do you call that, a studio, and just say I want a Canada visa photo, ask for the soft copy. So yeah, family information. Okay, let's do this. Family information form, like what it says. Let's do that again. Copy link address, file, open, and paste. Alright, so family information form, from the name itself, you need to put the details of all your family members. So section A, oh, by the way, you have to click, or you have to tick which one are you. Are you a visitor, a worker, or a student? So you are answering this for you, the student. Your spouse will also have this form, but so for your spouse, he will be a worker. So if you are answering this as the main applicant, then you click student. So applicant, okay, write your name, your country of birth, present occupation, and none. Okay. Spouse or common law partner, write their name, marital status, married, physically present. Okay, like that. So, and your mother, what's the marital status? Married. Country of birth, present occupation. Father, and then marital status, country of birth, present occupation. It has a instruction here: if deceased, give city or town and country and date. Okay, so on the present address part, oh yeah, I forgot. So this part, the top part will be the present address, and the bottom part will be the occupation. So here, you just have to put deceased, and then give the city and town, and then country, and the date of the death. Okay. Here I forgot, you have to tick yes or no. Will accompany you to Canada. Your spouse, you have to tick yes. Your mother, no. Father, no. No. Okay. And then section B, children. Include all sons and daughters, include all adopted and stepchildren, regardless of age or place or of residence. So, name of your child, relationship, son. Then their marital status would be single. Okay, country of birth, present address, and present occupation, NA. So, write all your children on section B. Section C, brothers and sisters. The same thing. All brothers and sisters, all half brother and sister, and step brother and sister. Okay? So there's a lot of space, but if it's still not enough, you can print additional pages if it's not enough. So at the end, you have to, okay, I forgot. If, for example, you don't have a spouse, so this is for single applicant. Okay, our example here, the one that we're doing on our GCK is for a family of 3, right? But for example, you are a single applicant, you're not married and all that, so you have to sign here. I certify that I do not have a spouse or a common law partner, so you have to sign. But if you're married, of course, you don't need to sign. Here, on section B, I certify that I do not have any natural, adopted, nor stepchildren. So, if you can be married and not have children, or if you're single, of course, and you don't have a child, then sign this. But if you do, then you don't have to sign. The same thing. Okay, for sisters and brothers, it doesn't say that. Okay, I certify that the information contained in this document is complete, accurate, and factual. So you just have to, again, print, sign, and scan because it doesn't have the validate button. So you have to print, sign, and scan this form. Alright, next, our optional document. Okay, these are optional, but I would suggest that you also fill it out, especially the client information, because the client information is actually where all your other important document is. Okay, let's open this one first, the 5257. This form is actually for the travel history. Very easy. So even if like it's an optional document, just answer it. Okay, this one has validate button, as you can see, so you don't have to print and sign. Okay, so fill in the details, your name, date of birth, military service. If you didn't do, just tick no. Have you ever witnessed, participated in ill treatment of civilians? So no. Membership or association with organization like political party and all that? So no. Government position. If you don't have one, then no. And then here, the number 8 question is the previous travel. So if you have since the age of 18 or during the past 5 years, whichever is more recent, have you traveled to any country or territory other than the country of your citizenship or your current country of residence? So for in my case, we are citizens of the Philippines, but we are currently in Singapore. So any travels within the past 5 years between Philippines and Singapore, I don't have to write here. But we went to Malaysia, so I have to write the details of that travel to Malaysia, Indonesia, or wherever you went in the past 5 years. Okay, so you can add more rows here if you have traveled more than, you just keep adding, add. Okay, or you can also remove. For example, you only went to one country, or 2 countries. So yeah, and then click validate. Same thing. Okay, that was easy. In client information form, the client information, like I said, has a lot of important information. So anything that has no specific tab in this in this GC key, then you have to put it in client information. Like I mentioned earlier in IMM 1294, if you had more than 3 jobs in the past 10 years, I mentioned you have to create the same table or almost the same table and do it in a Word format and add it up in your client information. What does your client information look like, or what documents do you have in your client information? So this is just an example. I'm not saying that you should have all of this, or I'm not saying that these are the only ones, but you can add or deduct based on this example. So for example, for a student permit, number 1 is your statement of purpose, your study plan, or SOP. It's all the same, just different names. We will do a separate video on this. So this is the core of your application, because this is where you will defend why do you need to study, why are you taking that program, and so on. So number 1, the first important information, or the first important document in your client information would be your SOP. And then your personal information, like your birth certificate, your NBI clearance, and other police clearance if you lived abroad. Like for example, for us here, we acquired an NBI clearance as well as a Singapore police clearance. So yeah, because we are staying here. And then, or for example, you were an OFW and you went back home, so you need to request for certificate of police clearance from that country if you stay there for more than 6 months. I mentioned this in my first video, right? And then of course, like your resident ID, like for example here in Singapore we have our IC, so I also included that. And then your e-medical sheet. Remember, you did your upfront medical, and whenever you go for medical, you will be given an e-medical sheet. So this sheet or this form or this document, you have to put it in your client information. Why? Because it doesn't have a separate tab on here. However, for your dependents, they have a dedicated tab here. proof of upfront medical. This is for the spouse. And then for the child, they also have. I don't understand why the main applicant doesn't have that tab here. So you don't have a choice. You have to add it in your client information. Okay, sorry guys, from here on out, I'm gonna do a voiceover instead because I don't know what happened to my clip. So anyway, let's continue. Okay, so next will be your educational credentials like your diploma, TOR, and certificate if applicable. Then, next will be your professional information, your curriculum vitae and your certificate of employment for each company that you've worked in. Next will be your home ties and investment. So anything that you declared in your study plan as your home ties and investment. So you provide proof, pictures, any proof or documentation of all the home ties and investment you declared in your study plan, like land title, government contribution, IDs, insurance policy, and etc. And then lastly would be the travel history. So all the travel pictures from all the countries that you have visited. So this is an example of a client information file for a student permit applicant. Okay guys, I have to cut this video first because it's taking so long. I will do a part 3 for the open work permit and the study permit minor, or the OWP and the SP minor. We will go through one by one again all the documents and the forms needed for the OWP and the SP minor. So I hope that would not be a very long video, but yeah, if you reach this far, thank you for watching. Watch out for part 3. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.